Years ago, Michael Haley began working on a book he entitled Winners, Losers, and Lawyers, a look at the adversary society. In doing research for that book, he came across a book entitled The Argument Culture, Moving from Debate to Dialogue. Today's presentation will not be a book report. Today, Michael will be talking about how the argument culture relates to business, politics, and personal relationships, all in 5 to 7 minutes. Please help me welcome Michael Haley and his speech, The Argument Culture.
You have the right to remain silent. If you give up that right, anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You have the right to be represented by an attorney. If you cannot afford an attorney, one will be appointed for you. How many of you have heard that Miranda warning? Hopefully not in an actual street contest. It's become a part of every cop drama, every legal show, the Miranda warning. It was supposed to level the playing field because our legal process is an adversary process. We have the defendant, we have the prosecutor, and they are warring against each other. If you think back to medieval times, it's like we have a champion that we've selected for ourselves to do battle against us, against the other champion. Why isn't it a level playing field? Because the resources are not equal. Poor people get convicted far more often than rich people because rich people can afford good lawyers. If you've ever had any connection with law school, you know about moot court. In moot court, what they do is you are told which side to represent. And the theory is a good lawyer could win either side. So it's not about right and wrong, it's about winners and losers. So if you can afford a really good lawyer, your odds of ending up in jail are much slimmer. What has happened in addition is that the whole legal process has become very expensive. If you're represented by a public defender, you're probably going to settle out of court. You're going to plead to a lower offense. Even if you're not guilty, it becomes so expensive and so time-consuming, you plead to a lower offense. Where that affects business is it becomes very expensive to go to court. There are people called patent trolls. They buy patents, and as soon as someone violates that patent, they come after them for money. And what they say is, go to your attorney, find out how much it would cost to defend yourself against this claim. What I'm asking from you is less. So it's a way of hijacking that whole process. You never go to court. What I suggest in the former case, where poor people don't get well defended, is mediation instead of trial. A less expensive process. You'll see some contracts, some business contracts, where it's written into the language of the contract, if there's a dispute, you agree to mediation rather than going to court. In the case of the patent trolls, what I suggest is loser pays. If you go to court and you lose your case, you pay the legal costs. Not only of the court, but of your opponent. That's going to discourage that whole process. One of the other areas where this adversary society, the argument culture prevails is, big surprise, politics. Where the whole objective is to vilipend your opponent because it's become a horse race. It's not about ideas anymore. It's more about, can we get the public to believe bad things about our opponent? In fact, it's not about the truth anymore. It's about, what do people believe? And we have researchers like Frank Luntz who will go out and do surveys to find out what people believe and say, well, this is what you should tell them. And they go out and they tell them that not because they believe it or because it's the truth, but because their audience believes it. What kind of solution do I have here? One of the things that we have lost in this society is third parties. If you vote for a third party, it's regarded as a wasted vote. There's a system called automatic runoff, where if there's a third party person, that person could actually win because you, in your ballot, have a first choice, a second choice, a third choice. So if nobody gets a majority from all the ballots, then they take the lowest vote getter and they take the second choice and apply that to that person. So that third person, say it's a libertarian candidate, they finish third, their second choice votes go to that person to then get them over the top. This gets a little more dialogue going on within that whole process. One of the things that I doubt is ever going to happen is to go from the argument culture to what I refer to as true argumentation, which goes back to the Greeks. There was a process, and an author called Toulmin, T-O-U-L-M-I-N, outlined this process, and I'll just describe it very briefly. Claim, data, and warrant. You make a claim, you have data to support the claim, and then a warrant says, why is that data related to the claim? Example. Women are smarter than men. That's the claim. The data. Women live longer than men. So the warrant is living longer related to intelligence. So you have to establish that connection. You can't just put random data out there to support your position, which you will see often in political contests where random data gets inserted out there without any establishment of a relationship between the claim and the data. So you have the right to remain silent and the responsibility to listen and the responsibility to speak out on matters that are important.